sharing tiling stories. I'm not a tiler, but I did tile my last house. So we took 2 weeks off to tile this house, me and my poor suffering builder's wife. And 4 months later, we were pretty much done tiling. And as part of that, I left behind the door and the toilet ungrounded as a reminder to myself to never ever do that. So that's my experience. So today, yeah, pretty honoured to be humbled to be out here actually. Obviously we've got Grant here, who is the architect behind Artisan, and we've been talking together for probably 6 years as it's developed through. And Jeff Ferrison, who I believe your team will be doing something close to 1,000 inspections today, which is pretty mind-blowing, isn't it? You know, how critical is that? So one of the things we're looking at is how we can be better with our inspections, how we can use the latest technology to improve things. And these two gentlemen here have, I guess, been at the forefront of it. Grant and the architect and Jeff running trials with it and implementing it within his team. So I guess I'd like to start off with Grant and just tell us a bit about Artisan.
Okay, so I think I'm sort of the technologist in the room on this occasion, but I don't really want to talk to you about the technology so much about Artisan, about why Artisan, why does it happen? And I was looking in the thinking room and listening to the previous presentations, and I'm thinking, well, nobody in this room, you know, got up and in the morning because their families got goodbye and said, I'm going out to place a time bomb in a house down the road. That will be a contingent liability for me and everybody else who's involved in it for the next 20 years, right? Similarly, Jeff's people don't wake up in the morning and say, hurry, I'm off, I'm going to go and catch some cowboys, and you know, and if I'm lucky, I'll teach some really nice people to go and do some rework they really didn't want to do. You know, it's not like that. And I think the earlier speech said it's about doing things right first time. And the problem is how do you create a system that makes it work. So the fundamental tenet of a quality system, I'm sure a lot of you are using quality systems in your businesses. The fundamental tenet of a quality system is bad things happen because they can, and if you want them not to happen, then you have to design them out. So fundamentally, Artisan is a tool for a team like Jeff's team to understand and interpret the building code and set up a project that creates a list of the evidence that you would need to capture in order to tell you that you've been compliant, and then send that from the console to a phone, to a mobile phone, and you take those photos as you go, because it says if it was done right, there'd be a picture that had this, and this in it. And oh, I've taken a picture. Does my picture have this, and this in it? And when you've decided that you have done the job properly and collected the evidence of that as you've gone, you send it through and you get a confirmation and be caught doing things right, which is another tenet of a quality system.
Yeah, so when we're talking about Artisan and inspections, we're not just talking about tiling. It's stuff everything done across the building, can't it?
Absolutely.
It's not restricted to that. So once you've developed this for use, primarily as an inspection tool, obviously you had to go and trial though.
Yes, so Jeff, we trialled it down the road for me, being based in South Auckland, with Jeff, and the Auckland Council has been the pioneers of this, really, the champions from the word go. Council most open actually to looking at innovation and trying to find new and better ways and more efficient ways to work.
So Grant, come to you with this new app through with brands, and what did you think when you first saw it? Obviously, this was pre-COVID, so we were probably a little less used to thinking of working remotely. It probably wasn't in our forefront.
Yeah, we, prior to that, we were doing sort of ad hoc versions of it, you know, when an inspector would fail something and say, send me a photo, or take a photo of it and I'll check it next time. So this was sort of just the natural progression to a much more robust process to be able to record that. And then it naturally led on to a QA model. So with someone being able to record their own work as they went, progressively from foundation all the way to the finish. It provided them protections, it provided them learning, so they had checklists that almost made them ad hoc building inspectors by following this checklist. So it lifted the industry's knowledge overnight.
Yeah, that was actually a common comment from those that were involved in the building trial, is that the builders actually knew more about what the inspector feels incorporated.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're looking for good building inspectors. So it's it was a real pleasure to see something like that come along, and we're really thankful Brains backed it and is still supporting that because it's free. And that was one of the big things that pushed Auckland Council into it. It wasn't a private company looking to profit from the industry like a lot of people do. This was a free app that was designed for the better of the industry and lifting the game across the board. And we're fully supportive of that.
How did your inspectors take to it initially? Was it resistance, or were they?
So we actually recruited specifically and had put someone in full-time to start. We originally had a business case for 4 full-time inspectors to be doing artisan, and those inspectors had the mandate to go out on site when they felt like there was an audit. So we had about 5% below target in those days. And so they would do a face-to-face, and that way they would get current as well in their competency. But at the same time, they got very good at it, very tech-savvy. Because of the uptake not being as fast as we would have liked, we've had just the need for one inspector full-time doing it.
Yeah, I think because we were involved in quite an early stage with Artisan, we sort of waited for the council to take it on, and perhaps it wasn't picked up in all areas. There was still some resistance. But then we looked at it as introduced as a quality control tool for internally. Right, you're involved with that, how you implemented that. Any sort of feedback on that?
Okay, so it was always designed to be as a quality assurance system. It was pretty forward thinking at the time. It was this was not being done as an idea, and it's moved on quite progressively since then. The whole idea of the premise for why Artisan actually happened in the first place was an analysis that was done at a time when, you'll remember when the government MB were working on the whole consenting side and trying to consent whole systems of work, or find ways around to accelerate consenting or almost bypass consenting any way they could. There was some analysis done at Brands that said actually as-built quality has been compromised as it's being built. So all of this stuff on the consenting side was really, really, really good and helpful, and I actually quite enjoyed the presentation of the building code piece here, that's seeing the work that's going on, because that's the evolution of trying to work out what good looks like. It's happening as it's happening, you know, it's happening on site. So what we wanted to do was create a tool that would focus people on what good looks like. You know, and so that they're thinking about what good looks like at the time. And really it was to try and change the whole behaviour and the interactions between, you know, traditionally sometimes adversarial, you know, policeman, council, hide what you can kind of behaviour. That's there, but it's changing the way that the industry interacts with each other by not looking at each other over what happened, but looking at the system about how it happened. You know, and to change the way things work. So
I think that comment to know what good looks like is really important, because one of the things when you start looking over all the data that comes in from Artisan is you do see a huge discrepancy or change between different tilers and different locations and that sort of thing. And it does make it very easy to go back and say, hey, this probably isn't up to speed. It really does stand out, so I think that's a really valuable tool. Nationwide. So Jeff, how many of the inspections would you do remotely now through TANZ?
Do about 400 a month. Grant, you probably know more than me in terms of the numbers, but it has come down quite significantly. 400 is not even a drop in the bucket for Auckland. So we really want to encourage that. We do have a couple of remote inspection tools, not just the artisan one, and it's based on the customer or the person doing it at the other end of which product we would use. So as an example, with artisan, it's almost like a pre-qualified person that gets to use it. Let's say, as an example for this industry, a TANZ training certificate or something similar would be sort of like the requisite that we would be looking for. And if it's not, then it would be a video type inspection, which is live, and it's a bit different. So you go from a quality assurance process to a live inspection. It's done, inspectors in the office watching and directing the person on site to walk around and show them with your phone.
Yeah, how did you find obviously you've got an audit program in place. Did you find that when you went back out to these, that there was a discrepancy, or did you have many sort of in the audit phase?
So I'm not sure if we did many audits to start with, but I haven't heard of any sort of comeback. Generally, I kind of hear about it, that we're going to be removing the rights of someone if that was the case, or giving them a few warnings, depending on the type of severity of the non-compliance. But with that system now, probably it'd be a good time to say we're looking at aligning what the TANZ checklist is, the shop list that they've developed with GJs in terms of their pilot, into the council regime, so that it's at least consistent in Auckland anyway. And there are things there that no inspector that I know can look at a membrane and tell me how thick it is, how many coats it's been. Unless you see through it, you really don't have any sort of triggers. So using QA is going to be a requirement now. We're going to be probably looking to roll this out within the next 6 months to 8 months, where when we even do an inspection, we still want to turn up, we still want to see photos of things that are covered that the inspector cannot see at the time. So bond breakers, so you might have a water stop that's been membraned over the top, that sort of stuff there, we don't get to see. And those are the areas that we see claims coming back for failures. So the inspection regime isn't really fit for purpose. We see the end result, and you preach it to the converter there, but you see that too. This is the probably, I'd say 20% of the work that you should be seeing if you want to drive non-compliance out of the industry. So that's something that we're looking to do, and I'll talk more about that probably this afternoon.
Yeah. Look forward to that conversation as well. So one of the things that these tools do well is that hopefully we avoid some of the mistakes, but it also gives us a much better idea at looking back when there is a failure. So currently, if we have a failure in a job, it's very hard to tell, was that bond breaker right, was this right, or, because by the time it gets pulled out, you see the photos this morning, it's a mess. So the ability to go back into these jobs and look at the quality of the membrane, look at the placement, it's invaluable for a business. But it must be great for council and for brands as well to do more works, doesn't it?
That's one of the key drivers for brands, having funded this, was they are fundamentally a research organisation, and the body of knowledge that is being accumulated through Artisan is going to be extremely valuable to everyone. And that same principle applies within companies.
Yeah.
Like GJ's has done, we'll talk about that later today, I'm sure. it is all about that facilitating that continuous improvement and being able to investigate. But that's for everyone too. I mean, this is a permanent, enduring digital record of everything behind the walls or part of the construction of the build. And that's valuable to insurers, it's valuable to homeowners, it's valuable. You know, I can see a time coming, and I want to talk about things coming in a minute.
Yeah.
But I can see a time coming, you know, where an artisan inspected house will be something. You know, it'll be like another phew. This house must be right, and if I want to, I can interrogate that record and see what's going on there and how things were done.
Yeah, it's very interesting when you do see the inspections come through. It's the ones that don't pass that probably be a fair bit of a guide to what's going on as well. So just that record.
Yeah.
So obviously the consents or inspections that come through are reasonably limited at the moment. Why is that not more widely used, and why do you think there's more resistance to put it through some councils than others?
I don't think there's so much a resistance going through. There's just a reality. The reality is, if you can same-day inspect, some people like same-day inspections, right? If there is a big backlog, then suddenly a lot of people turn towards us and say, man, we wish we'd got into artisan sooner, you know, which happens. And it's all volume adjusted, like everything else, you know?
Yeah. So,
I mean, there are some councils that are using a fraction the size of Auckland who are using artisan in the same volumes, right? That a much larger percentage of their material going through. Auckland's the most important council in the country. We all know that. You know, in terms of volumes and everything going through, and our biggest sponsor. Sorry, the rest of your councils, but you know, it really is. Sorry, as far as ability to change the way that industry might work, this is the biggest lever we can actually pull, right? In terms of doing that, but change is coming. You know, there are the backdrop of everything we've seen. You know, liability settings being reset. Policies particularly around self-certification of building firms coming, what you're trying to do here with your LPPs, and hopefully the artisan can play a role in helping you do that.
Yeah, for insurers, and there's a couple of insurers here, it must be invaluable too, because you have actually have a record of how it was done and proof that it was done properly.
Yeah, it could be vital actually, vitally important to everybody to know. It certainly is going to truncate the litigation cycle in terms of time, because it will be obvious what's happened, and artisan records every decision that was made on every device that made it, on every GPS location it was made on, right down to the square meter, right? So it is a very, we know who's logged in, working, doing all those things at any one time. And we're also, another big change that's coming away that's not peculiar to this industry per se, but you're all dealing with AI and thinking about artificial intelligence and how that impacts, and I'm sure some of you may have even used it to get here today, or to prepare speeches for today, or all those sorts of things, right? Some of that, what's potentially an AI is really frightening potentially frightening to the industry. And at one level they should be afraid, and at another level they shouldn't be afraid. They should be trying to embrace that. And so we have a version of Artisan now, and Auckland is testing and helping us refine that as well, where AI will give you an opinion about whether or not the photo you've taken is actually compliant with the building code, the Building Act and code, and even the consent. And Artisan can ingest all of the consenting documents and all of the plans, and augment the basic the generic shot list with the specifics straight out of the consent. So we can already do that.
Just so sort of going back a little bit, so one of the things, if I'm sort of really right, one of the things that slows down the pickup of Artisan is when council's doing such a great job that the inspectors are coming out soon. So I'll underweight a couple of days, so I'll just get someone out. That'd be fair. And what this AI will do will mean that you'll no longer weight it, or you will have a probability of a pass. So if you're a certain probability, you can carry on. Is that how it will
Well, at the end of the day, whether you do something on the site or not is a commercial, can be a commercial decision, right? I hope it's not the $100 saved to the $35,000 problem before, but but at the end of the day, there are some decisions that you want to make commercially in a timely manner, and at the moment, you have to wait on inspections, and you have to wait on those things to happen, and these are important checks, but you might in the future, not too far away, be able to get an opinion about whether or not it's a good call to make that commercial decision or not, based on what AI is telling you, distilling the information.
So, Jeff, are you sort of seeing that you sort of become more important, it'll be a bigger percentage of what you do, or will you push more that way? Or?
It looked that way a few years ago, but now I've totally changed my view on AI, where I think it gets moved back into the industry. So don't use it to inspect, use it to check your work.
There you go.
And that's where it really would become handy, because then if there's an issue picked up, they would change it, they would reshoot it, and we would have no failed inspection.
Yeah, because how many failures do you have now?
Roughly 20% for membranes. Yes. Although in saying that, the vast majority of those fails are because of product changes. Unnotified product changes, which is not really a major, because they're normally a like-for-like type product. But it is because it's not as per the building concept, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, spoiler alert. We have a version of the Artisan mobile app at the moment, going through testing that is exactly what you just described. So that instead of the process going through a loop, then that advice could be actually available about your compliance actually at the site at the time to anyone who's taken the photo of the work they've just done at the time. There are a lot of challenges for us to deploy that. At the moment we have a perception out there that ChatGPT and things like that are free because we kind of use them. But all these productivity gains that are coming from AI, the AI companies want to make sure that they enjoy a large share of your productivity gain. So these AI tools are, at an enterprise level are not going to be cheap. So that might challenge brands' model going forward about how this is used. But be that as it may, the productivity gains will be profound and real and right where you want them. Back at the compromised quality, as-built quality, as quality is being built, right back at the time of it really will make a difference.
Yeah, obviously there's a huge cost here to ratepayers on failed inspections and yet alone the accessibility of the homeworks themselves. Probably just before we go on, and I know we're going to have to talk a little bit more about AI. Do we have any questions for Jeff or Grant?
Yeah.
Yep.
Question for Jeff. With the new inspections within 3 working days, are you going to start to use Artisan a bit more in that space?
Does everyone hear that?
So because of the new 3-day wait time requirement, are we going to use Artisan more?
Yeah.
I'd like to. So we part of our strategy there's a few things going on, and one of them is building a remote team. So that remote team will be a rotation of inspectors coming into the office and doing remote inspections. We're currently looking at 10 inspectors in that, and Artisan will play a big part of it.
One of us is happy with that response.
Any other questions before we move on?
Question for Jeff. So you have certain builders at the moment that are basically doing the whole process through Artisan, and it's almost certification.
We're currently doing a pilot like that, but apart from that, we haven't really got to the point where the quality assurance is comfortable enough for us to do that. So ideally, if you've got self-certification in the mix, then this is probably the perfect sort of tool to be able to use to control your quality assurance and quality control on site.
Yeah, one of the things that I've always kind of stressed with people is that we shouldn't actually be relying on councils to do the quality control. So I guess it's taking a little bit more control of that at the building front.
Just wanted to just touch a little bit on what we talked about just previously, the photo being evidence. So in a lot of our claims, we have a real fight between whose fault it is. And when you see the amount of trades that are working in those bathrooms where we're doing inspections, there's plumbers and sparkies and they're all pointing the finger at each other. This is the perfect tool to have that evidence. So when you've done your job, you walk away, you've got that record. So we want to add that in because we get that a lot.
Steve, will there be the opportunity, Wixel has its own program?
Yeah.
Will Artisan, will there be an interface will we have to adopt, I'm not saying we've got a problem with it, but will we have to adopt Artisan?
I guess it's, if it's going through consenting, it'll be whatever the council is requesting. We are using Artisan in some areas as QA, but granting that
look, our view has always been it's a win for the whole Artisan initiative if you use any form of QA system, because if you can go create as-built quality as you're building it, and you can have a system that's going to be robust enough to make you do that every time, that's a win for brands. That's what brands' original goal really was when doing this. The reason it created Artisan is because we've seen some of those systems that are out there, and they weren't fit for purpose. So we've got something that is tailored for the industry to use, and we've tried to make it as easy as possible to use. But no, hey, if you've got a QA system that works and the council can see it and access it and do what they need to do with it, hallelujah, congratulations and fantastic news.
We're getting 3 to 4 requests a month for copies of that from purchasers.
Yeah, well that's...
wanting proof of our work, so it's an no-brainer.
Proof is proof, and nothing beats evidence. When the original paper we wrote on Artisan, right back at the beginning, we said we have a problem between an affidavit of someone seeing something on the day and signing a piece of paper that said it looked okay on the day versus CCTV. Which one would you prefer to see in a jury setting of that sort of stuff? So nothing beats evidence. Even better if it's evidence of compliance. That's what we want.
How do you verify the photographs? Is it time stamped? Is it, because you can grab a photograph and, we deal with apprentices and sometimes we see photos that aren't genuine.
No, you can't. With Artisan, you can't upload a photo. You have to take it the photo in Artisan. Right, so it's yes, we knew what you were wearing, what was the length of your inside seam. No, we didn't know any of that, but we know who was logged in on what device, when, and where it was taken to the square meter and to the millisecond.
Yeah.
Cool. So these the likes of Artisan, it's obviously a quality control program used for compliance, but as far as other industries. Quality control devices, it's not a new thing to have a quality control system like Artisan, would it? It would be...
No, and it's hard to say that when we came into this, when I first was involved in this thing, we looked around and said, where is your quality system? Because it's everywhere else. And the building industry didn't seem to have them. They're at the high end, with the BIM and the large constructional QA tools, yes. and there's been a lot of attempts to try and dumb them down, or scale them down to be applicable at a residential or smaller build level. But no, it's probably why, and thanks for the steer of the City of Osaka talked to us yesterday about about artisan for them, because they haven't got one in Japan either. So.
And look, it's not until you actually implement a QA system that you find out whether all the training or the prior work or the detailing is actually coming through. And I tell you what, it gets some action when you start auditing people's QA systems. That's when you see the road and changes happening. Because the job sites are all over the country. There's not eyes on all of them, and there's a lot that can be done without being, I guess, done properly. Jeff would see a fair bit of that as well. I rang Grant the other day and said, "Oh, look, I'm going to do this thing. Is there anything you want to talk to me about?" And he says, "I want to talk to you about the future, what's happening, where I think it's going." So it's time to shine, right? What we sort of, you say AI is coming into the and that kind of stuff. Where you see that.
Well, I was talking to the City of Osaka, thanks to Jeff introducing us the other day about artisan. While I was talking to Jeff's equivalent in Osaka, he was saying, well, how would that apply to our 3D printed buildings? So there's more happening in the world than we're just experiencing here. I mean, that AI is definitely coming. I was in London last year and stopped off in Hawaii on the way back, and was greeted by a Tesla robot in a retail store. And I know that AWS already employs more than 1 million robots in their operations. So 10 years from now, we may be making none of the decisions around what that looks like. We may not even be doing the tiling. A humanoid robot may be doing that for us. And if that is the case, we've got to prepare for that future and work out what our role in that future is going to be, and how that might all come together. Of course, the world may also blow itself up, do a whole lot of other things before that happens as well. That's why nobody wants to be a futurist, because the role of the prophet is either to be right and hated or be wrong and vilified. So, but all of these things are out there. You've got to be conscious that everything is changing. Workforces are changing. Even the demographics of our workforces are changing. We've had pushbacks from councils saying it'll put the inspectors out of work, but we've seen the opposite. It's extended the life of inspectors. It's put the walking wounded in the inspection teams to work. It's given them new skills. It's teaching new people about things. So, there's a lot of things that could potentially happen for construction. There's so many things coming down the pipeline of us to be not concerned about, but to be thinking about and planning for, and not to be afraid of artificial intelligence. It isn't actually intelligent. It's just fast.
Just going to finish off shortly, but obviously there's more conversations to be had. But I guess, Jeff, if you could sum up the remote inspections, give us summation on.
Yeah, I mean, every company has a quality management system. You have it for your own continuous improvement, for your health and safety, for the direction and the strategy of where you want to take your company. You just got to have it for that compliance part too. I think that's probably been a forgotten child for a long time in the residential, but that's just a Kiwi build thing. It's traditional. We went out and did that building ourselves. The plans, you'd be lucky to look at the plans, once or twice, and you could build a house. Now we need to have records of that. We need to show compliance in this world of litigation and everything else that goes with it. this remote inspections provide you that secondary support in terms of confidence for evidence.
Perfect. And Grant, into the summary.
Technology-assisted QA is a super efficient way for everybody gains.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, team. We're very lucky to have people who cover all these to couch talk to us today. Thank you very much.